I'm throwing things out there.
Yeah,
Lots of things. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
He'll be
idiots.
right or stupid.
I think I know which one Paul thinks right now. Hey, Internet. It's Paul. It's Matt. The Dork Lords. We are here talking about Legion, Season 3, Episode 5, Chapter 24. All right, so picks up immediately where last episode left off, where David says war.
Yes.
And this is basically David going to war to rescue Switch, his time traveler. And this is about as sinister as we've seen David ever.
Sure.
He pretty much kills a whole... The body count is huge in this episode.
It really is.
Now, of course, there's time travel involved, which means everyone will be back alive, probably. But I'm going to give Noah Hawley some, credit to not just be like, oh, and everything's fine.
Yes.
I don't think that's the way this is going to work. In fact, I think there is a theme that runs through this, which is, if you can just bring everybody back, does it start numbing you to the idea of just killing everybody off? David seems to be like, it's not really. No one ever dies.
No.
He gets so by just bamfing people out of existence, he almost never really gets upset in this episode with all the horrors that are around him. He's got this kind of disturbing even keel about it, and I think part of it is because he's like, none of this matters.
That makes sense.
Like, I'm not going to go back in time and fix it, so who cares? Well, fine. You're in space. I just killed off a room of you. I made you forget everything. It'll be fine later. And so I think that that toll is building in terms of his his descent.
That makes sense.
So, Paul, what are your thoughts on this episode? We just had we had our own time cats.
Yeah,
our time cats just came in and started eating through this video. So we're now back. Paul's going to describe his thoughts on this episode.
Yes, happy to. It certainly didn't go in the way I thought it was going to go.
Okay.
Because one of the things that you mentioned, actually, I figured made sense in terms of Sid and how she might use her powers to try to foil David, and here it is happening, and there's still 3 episodes left.
Yeah,
so,
see, my incorrect analysis was that I thought maybe it would happen at the end of this series.
Yeah, but your correct analysis.
But I was correct that she would use it to switch places with him, seduce him per Farouk, because Farouk's like, hey, you know what? You already try to get close to him. You can use that against him, and so she kind of uses that. Then she's like, kill the body. I mean, I kind of guessed that might be the scenario, but what I didn't realize was, and now there's 3 episodes left, and it didn't work.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, I would have figured that we would end for the final confrontation, and there may yet be another confrontation, but they'd have to, whatever David is intending to do has to work. Otherwise, the people who are trying to foil him won't know that they have to foil him. So, if he goes back to this point, then just about everybody's dead, So that was a surprise. So in a way, I didn't expect him to be this successful. And now we have to see if his plan works. And I don't think it should work.
I see what you're saying. You're saying, in other words, now that we've established this is our main timeline, and pretty much everyone's either dead or has no brain, that if he goes back in time, fails to do whatever change he makes, and comes back, everyone's still dead. Yeah. So it's like, oh, well, all right. It's just me and Farouk who's hanging out in the time between times. So you're saying that whatever he does has to be at least marginally successful, so that when he comes back to this day, those people are still there, but yet they also still have to have some knowledge that he's still a bad guy.
Right. I mean, okay. Yeah, or at some earlier point, like it's successful, and maybe he meets Sid, and his past has changed, and he's not, foiled by that, but something else goes wrong. And so
it keeps leading to this singularity, which is and then there's a confrontation. Like he can't seem to.
Right, but maybe it happens earlier than this point
I got you.
where we've established.
Yeah. So just to jump ahead here, the trailer for next week, because this episode ends with David has now gotten switched back. Everyone's dead, and he's like, "We're gonna go. I'm gonna use your powers." She's like, "Oh, we're gonna go back to do the baby thing again with your mom." He's like, "No, I got a different idea. Just one little change," and then that's the end of the episode. And so, what the trailer shows is it appears to be there's a lot of Oliver and Melanie. They're back.
Yeah.
And they're talking about this little baby girl with strange abilities. So it sounds like he's going back to try to change Sid's future, which will somehow affect his future, I guess. I'm not sure how that all works.
Yeah.
What's odd about it is I'm guessing that this is going to feel very fairy tale-ish. We've got Oliver and Melanie and like I could see there's an allusion to he's turning into a wolf, like a bit.
Oh,
like
yeah,
a Little Red
yeah,
Riding
yeah,
Hood,
yeah,
maybe.
yeah.
She's got a little red cloak over to the top of her when she's a little baby. There's a quick shot of like somebody's reaching down and there's a box with a human heart in it, which then suggests to me almost like a Snow White
Oh, wow.
thing. So I don't. And they live in a little cottage. I feel like we're going to be put into a fairy tale realm.
Yeah, you showed me the trailer there, but I did not have a chance to analyze it to the extent that you apparently have.
Yeah, because I analyze things way too much.
Yeah, overanalyzer.
I'm over-analyzer, man. So it sounds like that's his newest plan is, I won't screw with my timeline. I'm going to mess with Sid's, and somehow that's going to fix things. I just don't know. I'm not sure how that works.
Yep, me neither.
Because I still think he wants eventually for everything to be as it was in terms of, and I'm still in a loving relationship with Sid.
Yes.
Now, he'd also, I think, like to have Farouk gone, which is why I'm a little, like, it seems like even in this, if this outcome works and Sid is like, I'm well adjusted and I love you, he still would have Farouk in his brain, which I think was kind of his whole point all along to get rid of that. So I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Where that's
Yeah,
going.
one thing I was thinking that if he goes back and successfully keeps Farouk from getting into his head, maybe he's just like, and now I'm going to help Sid.
Sure.
Even though it might make the teeth fall out of her head, but
Right, and the time cats will be following them. She says they're going to show up as soon as we come into this space, and we see the little glimmer of them at the very end of the episode when you show the little door.
I
Flips
missed
around.
that.
There's the little eyes, and you hear the little laughter. You're like, they're there. They're hanging. But you had made a point a few episodes back when we initially saw David go and try to convince his mom, watch out for me.
Yes.
You said, well, why not just go and talk to Xavier?
Yeah.
Like, why are you spending all this time going back to talk to this woman who will probably not believe you?
Yep.
Is worried about her own sanity, and you're not.
Yeah.
It's just not. It seems like the guy you want to talk to is the guy who could do something about it,
Right.
and you could convince
Yes.
you're actually a real person. So I think that's coming. I don't think it's next week, but I feel like maybe after he fails in whatever attempt this misguided attempt this is, he is then going to maybe a third try will be let's go talk to my dad before he goes and talks to Farouk or meets with Farouk. To maybe just keep him from fighting Farouk or something. But I think that's like an episode.
That's possible. Hopefully, as we were describing it, I was just like, God, that's a lot of time travel.
There's a lot of time travel anyway in this thing.
Right, yeah. I think dramatically it might be better as something you said where they take her out of the,
Oh, yeah. Well, sure. I mean, I think you're absolutely right. No matter what happens, I think that the show has to take her out of the equation. Because otherwise, there's no ending. It could just be we'll just fix it tomorrow. Oh, no, it's horrible. Oh, it's fine. Hey, we're fine. Although, here's another interesting thought. This is a weird one. I'm not even sure how to describe it exactly, except to say one of the big reveals in this episode was Sid, does switch. She jumps into David's consciousness.
Yes.
And suddenly it's like, we are Legion.
Yes.
I am Legion, I think is what he said. And it's just like just a ton of Davids.
Yes.
So hence playing into the name of the show.
Yes.
Legion.
Yes.
Yeah, they name dropped it. But it occurred to me that maybe these different versions of David are. I don't know, this is a weird one to say, but like different. It's basically it's a time loop where David has gone back in time to try to fix himself, and then left one of his personalities in his and then gone back, and like so each one of these is just like it's the number of times David has tried to fix himself. Maybe I don't know.
Is that what you think?
I'm just saying. I'm throwing it out as a possibility. I don't know. There's so much time travel in this thing that I'm like,
Well, you had the premise of the show.
Yeah.
You know it before this. I mean,
Right.
you may have been like unnaturally attached to the idea that it was all happening in his head.
I am unnaturally attached to the idea that it's all happening in his head.
But the part that was happening in his head is that, at least in terms of the original character in the comics, is that he's got these different beings with powers in his head. And that's the Legion that it refers to. So that doesn't have anything to do with time traveling.
I just feel
and if he was doing this event, where he actually, he had that in his head before he even met Switch. When he first met her, he had someone to say...
He did have people in his head. You're right.
So, not that.
Of course, time travel means it could happen at any time. It could already... Okay, fine. You're right.
But it doesn't mean it jumps into your head.
It jumps into your head. No, but on that point, though, I do feel like this action has left a version of Sid in his head. There's a bit where all of the Davids are like grabbing onto her and pulling her into this dark room. It's kind of disturbing. Like, that's not her physically.
No.
That's her mental, and then they wipe her brain.
Yes.
And they take the part of her that jumped into David. I think she might still be in there.
That's interesting.
That she'll be one of the Legion, perhaps.
Oh, that's interesting.
Anyway, I don't know. I'm throwing things out there.
Yeah.
Lots of things. Yeah.
Yeah.
Either
Either he'll be right or stupid.
I think I know which one Paul thinks. No, but anyway. So
I wouldn't want to hide that from you.
So Sid, I believe, perhaps is part of the maybe that's a inevitable way that that Farouk or somebody uses to trip up David is that that got one of the personalities in there is a Sid, not a David. I don't know.
Interesting.
But yeah, so some just tragic deaths. I mean, again, how tragic can it be if you're just going to undo it? But in the moment, very tragic deaths.
Yeah.
Lenny committing suicide.
Yep, that was very tragic. And I feel like the fact that we talked about it, and I think it's still, as Dave was telling her, that didn't really happen.
Yeah.
But did her girlfriend die?
It's true. We do not see the pregnant girlfriend.
No, we don't see her at all. Which, maybe that was part of it. Like, where it's like we're going to take her away, and then the child that was resulting grew up. So that's weird that we wouldn't see her.
I think the fact that you mentioned, though, that David kind of acknowledges it was all in your head. I think it's true that the thing was just an illusion. Because he says it was all in your head, like my mom. In other words, my conversation with my mom wasn't real. It was a bunch of time cats trying to screw with me. Your whole relationship with your daughter wasn't real. It was time cats screwing with you.
Right, but then what has happened to...
That's true. We just don't see her, but I don't know that maybe it's just for the ease of just saying...
because what you have to believe is that the time cats attacked, and then Sid had this false fantasy.
Lenny.
Sorry, you're right. Sorry. So
Sid had a false fantasy. She did. But.
That's true. But Lenny had this false fantasy wherein her wife delivers the child and we never see her again. So Sam delivers the child, and then the child grows up and then dies. And then, boom, all the time cats are gone, so everybody goes back, but she's like, no, don't make me forget this. I want to remember. And then the wife that was like, let's go someplace is like, I don't care that you're upset. You're upset because our child
you would
died.
Think that, right, or at the very least that there would be this obvious example to Lenny that a physical manifestation. Oh, there's this pregnant salmon. Oh, the kid's still here and it hasn't been born. And I can still be a good parent.
Yep.
And yeah, so okay. On this show, it could be both. Right, it could be both an illusion and salmon also was killed off by the time.
Yes.
Okay, so. Whether it was real or not, it was real to Lenny to the point that she's now suicidal. She thinks she sees David as a narcissist.
Yes.
which is probably not an incorrect observation.
No.
And, it's coming from Lenny. That's kind of a...
Yes.
She's kind of...
Yes.
Anyway, but so she's like, no, I'm done with being controlled by you. And, it's an extenuation of her last week saying, I just want to live with this pain. I don't want you to take it away. When he even says... I love that scene, the way it's acted, when David said... You can tell he's reluctant to put it in these terms because he feels like I'm probably minimizing your feelings. But he's like, so if you come with me, we get the time traveler, maybe you could have her back. But like he doesn't just come out and say it. You could tell he's like, oh, I know this sounds bad, but I'm going to say it because that's what I'm thinking. And it doesn't have the effect.
No. It does not.
Because in her mind, she's that thing of like, no, this pain is real, and if you just take it away, no, I don't want that. I don't want that kind of a life. It still meant something to me.
Yeah, they certainly have a number of people now who've told him that at least disapproved of what he's trying to do.
Yeah, and then Sid, and probably the most important conversation of the show of the episode was Sid talking to David.
Yeah,
and she says, "What would it be like to be erased?" Like she's like,
yes,
So she's bringing up that point.
But it was interesting in that I think they did a good job of making it credible, even to David, or maybe it was only really credible to David, but that she had a change of heart.
Oh, sure. They did right. Her tactic was, I'm gonna say stuff that perhaps I'm even thinking. I'm not going way outside the lines here. Oh yeah, Farouk did convince me that you were a bad person and put some images in, that you'd betrayed me, and I believed him, and it's true. Still doesn't, since then a whole lot's happened that has convinced me you're a horrible person. But in that moment,
but I can see, and then she was like, I can see what you're trying to do, and and I can, and the way that perhaps her introducing the concept that being erased might be a pretty bad thing was in a way sort of like seeing how either one, how far he has gone, or if he can possibly be reasoned with, but perhaps more like, okay, you should have assumed that I would have some trepidation about it, and so just by introducing it and having you say, oh, here's the reason why that isn't a concern, it's like, okay, if I then make it appear as if, oh yeah, that makes sense, he won't see it coming when I slap him on the head. Slap.
Yeah, and she catches the fact that he mentions Lenny is like, Clark can come back, Lenny can come back. So what happened to Lenny? And his response isn't she killed herself. It's like she abandoned me.
Yes.
Just like my mom, and just like you. So it's like that's the narcissist part of the. It all is how it reflects on me.
Yes. Some people think it's all in his head.
Some people do think that. I don't know who those people are, but they're probably also in his head.
But you'd be very happy if this series ends and it's some weird and I was going to say ER or Scrubs. When I meant was
you touched St. Elsewhere?
Yeah, St. Elsewhere thing.
The St. Elsewhere ending.
That's what you want.
For those of you who don't know, that was maybe one of the worst endings of all time. I mean, it's controversial.
Yeah, certainly one of the most controversial endings.
Which was that it was a show. It was just St. Elsewhere was like an ER type show, right? It was just doctors who are helping people in a hospital.
Yep.
Great. There was no real supernatural feel to it or the sense of anything like that. It was just the drama. And at the end of it, the whole point was that St. Elsewhere was a model hospital in a snow globe that would belong to this little kid who was like a patient or whatever.
No, he was the son or nephew of one of the doctors, and he had autism.
Yeah. Bring up the St. Elsewhere ending.
That's right. That's what you want.
Happen.
That's what you want. You're like, yay!
No. I will say this. It did occur to me after seeing Switch, trap Farouk in the time between times.
Yes.
It did occur to me like, man, David is really putting a lot of faith in her, or like, if she got she's losing her teeth, she's she's not perfect.
No.
And let's say you time travel and then she dies. You time travel and then she loses her powers. Like you're screwed. You're stuck. You're screwed. There's a lot of ways that can go wrong. Even if she's not intentionally trying to hurt him.
No,
she could just malfunction essentially.
Right.
And bad. So it's just like. I mean,
there's
a high danger ratio.
They definitely, placed a lot of in desperation.
The time cats could come get him, and then if he goes back in time, and then the time cats go, then assuming he doesn't have that power, which apparently he does not have the time travel ability,
right?
That he's screwed himself, and it's just like, whew, like. Until now, it seems like he's been pretty casual with the let's just go back in time and do the things. I don't think he's really thought to himself, you're the only anchor I have to getting back to real time.
I wouldn't characterize it, though, as casual.
Okay.
Because it's sort of like he's desperate. That's why he doesn't notice what's going on with her or notice what's going on in anybody else. He's so desperate to get it to happen that he doesn't want to think about the thing. Because part of what he's experienced is like, oh, well, if any problems come along, I can just destroy it.
Well, he's also desperate. He's desperate, but he's also thinking, "Oh, your problems are fine because when we go back in time, of course, with her problems."
Well, he's so desperate. He's so desperate that he thinks that let's solve this problem and then I'll solve the others.
Yeah,
is what he's thinking.
I'm just saying. I feel like there's a hammer will drop at some point.
Sure, yes.
He's relying so much on her abilities. Her abilities will cease to be in whatever fashion, and then he's going to be screwed in some way.
Well, I mean, they're setting up. He's setting up that it's going to be. They're setting it up so that whatever. That he's got so much placed on doing this one action that if it doesn't work, then he's screwed. But of course, you don't want it to work. It doesn't make sense dramatically for his plan to work. So they're just getting you ready. To see him,
He keeps saying, I can fix this.
Yeah.
I can fix this.
And of course you can't. No. I'm sure you can't.
No, he's making it worse. Pretty much every time he's making it worse.
Exactly.
So the Clark death is also very tragic in terms of, he's got his partner first. I'm forgetting the partner's name, but we see him on the trailer. They've got the blimp and the truck.
Yeah.
So they got with the matching logos. And so the truck, David attacks the truck to try to get information on where Switch is, and just wipes everyone out.
Yeah.
And in the case of Clark's partner, is like I think his husband actually.
Yes.
Is like the guy's like,
partner, husband.
I've been trained. Yeah. You can't possibly break into my mind.
Yes.
Like, oh wait, so you're training? So if I go into your long-term memory, then you won't be trained anymore? Okay. Whoop! And you're like, and it works.
Yes.
But it also leaves him without being able to know his own name.
Or his husband.
Yes. And that's very tragic.
Yes.
And so then we cut to Clark watching old footage of his husband. Obviously, he's been notified, I assume. His husband doesn't know who he is anymore. And so he's lamenting it. And he also knows that David did that.
Right.
And so when he sees David finally, and he's like, I should have killed you.
Yep.
He's like, yep, yeah, you should have. But also, David is, again, he's treating it like a video game because I think he's like, well, you're going to come back to life later anyway. But, for instance, turning his gun into a rubber ducky and then saying, bath time. I mean, it's just a dick move, right? You could just knock him out. You could make him go to sleep.
Yes.
You could do whatever. But to toy with him, be like, as he reaches for a gun, turn it into a rubber ducky. I mean, it's like there's a sadistic quality to him that's like, it's not simply just that he disregards human life. He's got a little sense of dickishness about the whole thing that kind of shows up too.
Yeah,
we're like, oh, that's super villainy right there.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
The guy who can do all that stuff and then chooses also to do it. Oh boy.
I mean, but there's always been an element like in the first season when he went to that compound and there were all those people there and just sort of boom.
Yeah, but I got the idea at that point. Now, maybe I'm wrong, but I got the feeling that he was under Farouk's control at that time. But who knows at this point?
I don't know. I feel like that at that time we thought that, but I think what we've really seen though is that there's this element of him that takes glee in it.
Yeah.
And so it made it easier to think like, oh, he's crazy, but that's because they told him that he was crazy.
Yeah.
And he's crazy because of Farouk in his head. But
he definitely has I'm the victim.
The damage is done, and we're seeing that there's elements of him that have different sort of feelings and emotions and things like that. And so that, to me, that's how I see it now. That previous instance, it was just there's other part of his character that was sort of like, ha 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 ha. I mean, then we think it was Lenny or Farouk, but really, I think there's these different aspects of him now.
It was a cool visual to be from the perspective of Clark being jettisoned outside the ship.
Yes.
I mean, it was something like,
yes,
and
yes,
there's this floating thing.
Yes.
Like, oh, he's in
Yes.
space. They went to space. That was the thing that Farouk objected to. They're like, we can go to low Earth orbit. And Farouk's like, look, if we're the rabbit, he's the wolf. And so then Farouk tries to instead become the spider instead of the rabbit. But it also made me think, I do feel like Sid... You can argue whether Sid knew about Farouk's plan or not, but I think she did know about it because, for instance, when she gives up the info, she's like, oh yeah, Switch is in a booth. They made it so that you can't see it. It's in the plane. I mean, that's part of Farouk's trap. So even by giving that information up, it's still not really to David's benefit. Like when he goes to get Switch, he gets trapped by Farouk. So I feel like, I don't know. I feel like that was all part of a plan, at least with Sid and Farouk. Maybe no one else.
You think they discussed it?
I think they maybe did. Because obviously Farouk's the one who said you should seduce him. That's how we're going to get him. If you can, make him think you're still in love with him, then we'll fool him. And so that's her plan. That's how she enacts it. And it just seems like the information she gives up to get herself in good with him is not actually advantageous at all. It's like, oh, that's where the trap is. So even if this fails, you're going to walk in to go get Farouk. I don't know. Yeah,
I guess. I feel like...
she was just good at thinking extemporaneously?
Yeah.
She's like, oh crap, Farouk
that's
betrayed
what I feel
us.
like.
Right,
I feel like, I guess it's possible that when they hatched the plan, that she didn't feel like they would listen to her, and so maybe she really identified with Farouk. But I don't think... That's not the impression I got.
Okay. She was just good at thinking on her feet.
Yeah. I felt like once that happened, because it's sort of like, let's do this to try to, stay out of his clutches, and that didn't work. And then it was sort of like, okay, I'm desperate now. I've got to do something. I'll do that thing that I said I wouldn't do, because she said she didn't want to, sort of fool him and betray him and attempt to think that, she'd rather, I guess, kill him, honestly.
So we also get this thing. So Switch, Carrie with a C created this coffin, essentially, that if you put her in, then you can't find it.
You can't be detected,
Yeah. And then while in that coffin, I'll call it a coffin, box, whatever, she has these nightmares. And her nightmares seems to be basically this theme again of like she's actually a robot. That her dad, she's one of her dad's creations. Her dad must have made her, and she's got the little switch on her back, like tick 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 tick, and then she falls off a table and breaks as a little robot version of herself. And so that obviously is her driving motivation, is to not be a robot,
right?
And not be considered one of of that ilk. And so it's also, I think, why when she identifies Farouk as a robot, I think it's, what is the first thing she do when she escapes? It's send Farouk to another place. Like, the fact that David is against Farouk is maybe one of the reasons why she's so pro-David. Because, like, she is anti-Farouk. I think she's like, I've identified you as bad thing. Since David is against you, I don't care that David said he would try to force me to do time travel. I'm on his side. I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, we haven't heard much about her rationalizations, really, so we really have to guess. So, why she trusts David and doesn't trust Farouk. I mean, Farouk, he's the one running around with, like, shades on, blocking his eyes.
I still don't understand how D3 doesn't... Anyway, whatever. Farouk still, to me, is a time bomb waiting to go off. I don't think he went off in this episode. I think his luring David out was more of he still wants to take down David. It's not or I don't know, take him down. I don't think he wants to kill David, because he could have killed him here and he didn't. So he wants David alive for some reason. But I guess Farouk was willing to sacrifice D3 to capture David, essentially. But I feel like there's more coming. There's Farouk's, I don't know, maybe his ultimate plan. He says he's a strategist.
Right.
Has yet to come to fruition, perhaps.
We'll see.
But it occurred to me that with Switch, from the standpoint of D3, first of all, so Carrie with a C rescues her. And he's like, hey, you don't have to hide anymore.
Right.
Come with me.
The previous, so
yeah. And then he's like, I'll stick you in this box where you'll have nightmares. like, that's not good.
Well,
right?
you didn't know that was going to happen. It's not like, let me make you regret the decision of helping us.
Yeah, it was just like here's our plan. We're just going to stick you in stasis and let you have this horrible, waking nightmare.
I'm sure that wasn't part of it. It wasn't like, wait, is the have nightmare button on? Because it doesn't help him if she's unhappy with it.
Yeah, no, I hear you. It was just like,
he puts her in a place
to
keep her in stasis, and yet it made her more willing to help David out.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's tough to talk to her without figuring she's going to try to bamf somewhere. But you would think, I've got a time traveler. Yes, I could just put the person in complete hidden stasis, or maybe if I could figure out a way to actually have a rational conversation with her, with knowing that she's not just going to bamf out of existence, maybe I try to convince her to help us. In which case, we have a time traveler.
Right, but I feel as if she's not, there's no, even if they talk to her and get her to help them, I mean, either A, they have to use the time traveler to stop David, or B, which I think that's,
I'm just saying that's kind of what I would be thinking. I have the most powerful
now
tool
it's there, we've got to
show.
hide her because we know that he'd want her. That's all they're doing. That's all they're really trying to do.
But I'm just saying, she's such a powerful plot device tool. It's like, we have the most powerful thing in the, universe, and we're like, we're not using it. We're just going to use it as bait.
Yeah.
It's like, yikes.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe rethink the plan. That's all. If I'm D3, I'm not saying I'm glad that D3 didn't decide to use her for their own benefit.
No, what I'm saying is right. But I feel like if David got his hands on this time traveler, I mean, the way they could, I think rationally deal with that situation where David wanted the time traveler, and they think that if that happens, a bad thing happened. They should have killed her.
Yeah. No, you're right.
So not like, let's get her on our side and then let's go through time and defeat David.
Well, I'm just saying, like, oh my God, this guy's coming and he's gonna want to kill us. What can we possibly do? Let's just go into space and hope that works. Or we could use a time traveler
to do what?
I don't know.
To go back in time and kill him.
Wait till he shows up and then go whoop whoop whoop, and then get behind him and stab him. I don't know. Or Farouk jumps into her body and becomes like parasites on a time traveler, and then he's a time traveler. I don't know. Is that the way it works? I don't know.
We don't know.
We don't know. But you give Farouk time travel, and good luck, everyone else. Rest of world.
I guess.
I don't know.
Yeah, which includes them.
Yeah. Good point. But they seem so Team Farouk at this point. Well, maybe not now. Well, of course, when they reverse time, maybe they won't even know about it. In any case, that's generally the themes of this episode. If you've got some thoughts on where this is going, we've got 3 episodes left. As I say, it looks like a fairy tale episode coming up with Oliver and Melanie returned from. Of course, they're up in the astral plane, I think.
Is that what's going on?
In the present day. But this seems like it's going back in the past, so they would have been alive, and maybe.
Right.
Maybe David thinks they'll make better parents. Yeah. I don't know. So he orphans Sid and lets Sid grow up. I don't know.
Who knows?
We'll figure it out.
We'll find out.
We'll be there to talk about it next time.
We will.
Thanks, everybody, and we'll talk to you then. Bye.
Bye, Time Cats.
Time Cats.